This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. This is the day the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Wow. This is for us to do. You know, the world's a lot of things to a lot of people. And it's generally different to everybody. We do not have to have a miserable life. We can make a miserable life for ourselves, or we can make a beautiful life for ourselves. We live in this world, and the world is made up of each one of us. Whether it be beautiful, or whether it be horrible. Whether it be good financially, or whether it doesn't be good financially. And we've got to dig out the beauty of this world. If we want it, we've got to dig it out. The devil has beguiled people today to think that beauty is pleasure. Pleasure is not necessarily beauty. To just sit by a babbling brook and listen to the water babbling and have peace of mind and peace of heart and be comfortable in that setting can be peace of mind. It's a beautiful setting. And to study and to dig out the good rather than the evil. You don't have to dig out evil. Evil will find you. And if you want to follow evil, evil will make more evil. And then the analysis of the thing at the end is you'll live a miserable life in evil. But if you want good, you've got to dig out the good. Do you know the world to us is a mirror? We are to look at it as a mirror. What do you want to see in the world? Do you want to see the mirror of the good in the world or the evil? And so you have to be careful how you look at it. There is no such a thing as good luck. No such a thing as good luck. There are uncertainties in the world, and there are certainties in the world. And the uncertainties are some things, and the certainties are some things. The certainty of it is you will face a bad situation, have nothing to do with luck. Sometimes carelessness. The more certain rules that are out here, the more certain you are to find that you're going to break one of those rules and find yourself in a place where you don't want to be. Or otherwise, it's like running a stop sign. The little town I live in, you better make sure your front wheels stop turning at the stop sign. If you bump that stop sign and your wheels don't stop turning, there's going to be a policeman hiding somewhere looking for you, and he's going to get you. And you're going to pay the fine. And you're going to pay him more than once if you don't pay attention. Stop your wheels from turning at the stop signs. By the way, couldn't give you any better advice than to stop your wheels turning every now and then in every direction in your life. Everything. I heard this story one time of a lawyer. Good lawyer. Miserable human being. Miserable. Couldn't stand the life. He decided he was going to go get him a CDL and drive a truck. He would make a third, if that much, of what he was making. After his first week on the job, he came in kicking his heels together, said, "I'm the happiest person in the world." He got rid of that load he was carrying as a lawyer that brought him great gain but didn't bring him peace of mind. Went out and did something that brought him peace of mind. Lived on the level that he was living on with his new rate and his new life, and was a happy camper. I would rather drive a truck and be happy than to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything else and be unhappy. By the way, I paint a good bit in hospitals. And the most unhappy people that I know, that I meet, the cussing, raveling, non-caring, or ruthless people some of the doctors. I know we have some good doctors, but we have some ruthless doctors that think they are a step above all other human beings and treat other human beings like trash. And so we have to be careful. What are we going to set in our life for other people to see in this world? Are they going to want what we have? Are they going to want what we have? You know, a tree grows where you plant it. And a little old bitty tree can become a piece of lumber in a big house. How about that? A little old bitty tree that's growing, leave it alone. One day it can become a piece of lumber in a big house. The food that we eat started with a seed. I saw a little thing the other day and I approached the guy that had it on his vehicle. He said, food comes from farms. How about that? We have a generation right now that doesn't know that. If you say something about food, they say, well, I'll go down to the grocery store and get some, or I'll go to McDonald's, or I'll do this, or I'll go get a gallon of milk. Never thinking that that milk came from a cow that gave its life to stand on its 4 feet and eat grass so that you and I could drink its milk. How about that? Say a brown cow eating green grass and giving white milk. How about that one? I tell you what, God made things to work in mysterious ways. Food feeds the body, and food doesn't make the man. The man eats the food for substance. The Bible says God made the food for the body so that we would have the substance to move. We eat the food, we got the body moving. Now, this substance that God gave us is so that we will worship Him. That's what He wants, us to worship Him. We're neither born a winner, nor are we born a loser. The way you play the game is what determines your outcome. You can play the game of life through this life as a loser, die and go to hell. You can play the game of life in this life a winner and ask Jesus to forgive you of your sin, come in your heart and save your soul, and die and go to heaven. That's a choice God gave you. God is going to meet every man on every man's level. You do not have to be intelligent at all. Matter of fact, I did a children's church for several years, and during those years, I won many children to the Lord that were 6, 7 years old, and younger even, that asked Jesus to save them. And today, they're in the church working. Today, they're 20, 22, 23 years old, having children, working, living for God, because they got the roots. It's where you get the roots. You know, our general behavior does not really depend 100% on our genealogy. We can have a bad genealogy through our whole life and have a good general behavior. Because you don't have to be born with blue blood to be something. By the way, many people that are born with blue blood have done heinous acts and got away with them because they had blue blood, so to speak. Their blood's the same color as ours and everything else. It's the financial blood in the family. It's not what our parents did or do that causes us to be who we are. It's what we do, or what we do with what we have. Who's keeping score in your life? Who's keeping score in your life? I pray that my life lives close enough to God so that He's a scorekeeper. Wow, what a scorekeeper to have. Man. And when He keeps score, He puts rewards in the place where you're going to spend eternity. And in that place, you will have those rewards. It's not really either who our forefathers were, even though the forefathers that I have behind me in the United States of America, my father used to tell me one time, and I said, Dad, what are we, who are we, what are we? He said, we're a little bit of everything. We had a little Scottish in us, we had a little Indian in us, we have many things in us. And our original name was not what it is now. It was in another language, and it was called one thing, and then we got in America, and it was changed. So our roots are way back. We don't know where or when. What makes a difference in your life? The decisions you make. The decisions you follow. You want to make some good decisions? Make biblical decisions. You want to make bad decisions? Just go helter-skelter any way you think and jump on a decision and write it and find out it wasn't a good decision. And those happen. We've come from a generation that knew God as their Father, Jesus as their Savior, Christianity as their way of life. We've come from that generation to a generation who knows not God, who knows not Jesus, who knows not Christianity, and they're following the world system and the rock and roll and the swing and sway with Sammy Kaye. And I noticed that just yesterday I was in one of my favorite shopping places, the Goodwill, and the music they were playing was of a worldly type. And I sat down in a big old leather chair they had for sale there, and I just sat there and observed people going by, not as a man trying to figure out who's who and what's what. But I noticed the jitterbug in many of those people. That music that was playing allowed them to get in they were getting in the groove, and there were all kinds of people around there doing all kinds of actions. Well, what does that say to me? That says to me they are in tune with the world. I am out of tune with the world. I am in tune with God, and if a Christian song comes on, which I play 24 hours a day, Christian music, Christian stuff, all my radios, all my vehicle, everything around me surrounds a spiritual realm. I've had people ask me, say, what do you do to stay so healthy? I follow God. What do you do to stay so happy? I follow God. Well, what do you do in your downtime? I mean, when you ain't following God. There ain't no time I'm not following God. In the spiritual life, you are living in downtime. It's not a working life. It's a pleasurable life. It's a fun life. To get in the Bible and study, to get in the Bible and read, it's not work. It's captivating. It's interesting. To focus on the fact that if you're going to be faithful and follow the Lord, you've got to get in His Word, learn what He says to do, learn how to achieve peace of mind, peace of heart, and the sun will shine in your life day and night, good or bad, whatever happens, good or bad. You can. I told the story of the cab driver my sister hit. She was learning how to drive, and she hits this cab driver broadside. And he calmly gets out the other side of the cab, and he comes over. And he said, well, young lady, it looks like you just bought a taxi cab. Now that I look back at that, I was about 8 years old probably. I look back at that now and I say, you know, that man was probably a Christian, a real Christian. And he He didn't get frustrated. He didn't get upset. He didn't do anything. That's how we're supposed to be. No matter what happens. The wickedness of today, Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 20, talked about in that day a great wickedness. And as it was talking about that day, it was talking about the present day then coming all the way out, prophesying it to be the same thing in the future. The present day would be evil. We're living in an evil day. We're living in an evil day. Do you know a man that puts a piece of clay on a wheel and he's turning that piece of clay? He wets it down. Well, after he wets it down, it's going to do something. It's going to harden. So he wets it down, he starts turning the wheel, and he's molding it with his hands. And as he molds it, he doesn't just stop in the middle, get up, walk away, and say, I'll come back in a couple hours and finish it. No, because in a couple hours, it's going to be hard as rock. So while he is in the process, he must shape the top and dip it out and make it. And that's like the spiritual life is like that. There's no stopping in the middle. There's no, if you want a perfect pot, if you want to be that vessel that God would come and dwell in and live through you in that vessel, you got to keep the wheel turning. You got to keep the clay wet. You may keep it wet for years. As long as you wetting that clay and working it, it stays pliable. Are you a pliable clay? Are you a clay that God can mold and make and keep pliable day after day, week after week, hour after hour, minute after minute? Are you that clay? Clay left alone becomes a brick. Whatever shape it's in, it'll become a brick of that shape. If you leave it in a disastrous shape, it's going to be a brick of that shape. Or you can form it to be a beautiful brick and actually make a brick and use that brick. Are you a usable brick? Are you a usable? Whosoever is wise will observe the things of the Lord, will understand the works of the Spirit, gentleness, meekness, kindness, long-suffering, temperance, and those things which are godly. Life is not so important to ourselves that everything needs to boil down to dollars and cents. To stop and help somebody along the highway, more than likely it's going to cost you. I have perhaps put more dollars in the gas tank of people on the side of the road than I have sometimes in my own vehicle, it seems, during the week. Are you a helper or a hindrance? Do you help people you find beside the road? What is your life? How do you touch people in a big way or a small way? Do you leave a happy hole, a happiness when you leave an area? Do you go into a store? Do you leave the clerk happy? So maybe everything is upside down the day you're in the store, and just everything is not working. The clerk is not happy. The store manager is not happy. The store is not happy. The people in the line aren't happy. Everything is unhappy. Can you cheer the line up? Can you have a good day in spite of the fact that everything is upside down? Can you turn it right side up and leave that line happy and go out of the store and everybody says, well, you know he's right. This is just another minute in life. Why should we let this be a bad minute when it could be a good minute? In a bad situation, it can be a good minute. Somebody dropped a gallon of milk on the place where you put your groceries, and the milk broke, and there's milk everywhere, and it's a disaster of a mess, and it's the only line open. Wow. The beginning of things. You know, a huge oak tree starts from a little bitty seed. A little bitty acorn makes this huge oak tree. An oak tree can be a blessing. When it's a hot day shining, it can be a blessing. Sit under that oak tree in that shade. It is a blessing for the squirrels. It's a blessing for the birds. It's a blessing for the bees, for the ants, to be able to climb the great oak and get whatever up there is nectar to them. Bring it back and put it in their storage house for the winter. This one great oak tree you see has so many facets. Has so many facets it does, besides make the air. I read, and I have a book that I read, that how many barrels a huge oak tree drinks barrels and barrels of water. What happens to that water? That water goes up into that tree and makes air. Puts the leaves on the tree, puts the nuts on the tree, puts the fruit of the tree on the tree. But it makes air that you and I could breathe. God designed that tree to do what it does. Are you doing what God designed you to do? Isn't that a beautiful question? You want to know one of the prettiest, most beautiful things in the world, one of the most beautiful things in the world is a rainbow. Far off, you may not have seen it rain. But wherever that rainbow is, it has rained, and you're looking at that rainbow. Rainbow has all the colors that are in the world in it. And by the way, God had a purpose for every one of those colors has a meaning. If you were to study the meaning of those colors, come back to the tabernacle in the Bible and study that. I do not have the Bible sitting in front of me right now, reading it. I have some Christian literature put together by some Christian people who say that let's follow what God would have us follow. Let's do what we're supposed to do. I was just distracted a second ago by a cat. You know what that cat's doing? He's doing what cats do. He's having him a good time. He's out there hunting a bird. Out there hunting a mouse. Out there doing what he does. And he's a happy cat. A drop of rain. A ray of light. I'm looking out. It's getting daylight. And the sun, a ray of light shining on a tree over here. I see it. I don't see the sun, but I see the rays of light. Wow. Beautiful. Those are beautiful things. A ray of light. A drop of rain. Wow. You know, it seem odd that if you made a dam, and the dam was made to hold a certain amount of cubic feet of water, if you exceeded those cubic feet of water, the dam would burst. Today, I see people living in dams that are ready to burst. It just takes one more drop of the things of this world and they burst. I heard the statistics in California, Golden Gate Bridge. There's one section of that bridge where they said in the year 2014 already, 46 people had jumped to their death off that section. It's become an everyday process for them to stay down there with a boat and pull the dead bodies out of the water. Because people have lived to where one more drop has bursted their dam. What's behind your dam? Have you got spiritual things behind your dam that won't burst the dam? Or do you have the things of the world that get heavier, 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 and heavier until your dam bursts? Wow. Are you living a shallow life or a life with depth? God wants us to graduate after He seals us until the day of redemption with His Holy Spirit. He wants us to graduate internally and externally to become you know what I can say for sure? These little things I do on the internet, I have now become an international thing. It's hard to believe this little uneducated man is sitting here on a YouTube that is international. It is everywhere that computer is in the world. Somebody has the ability to punch it up. Wow. That's deep water. But Jesus is the one that holds my dam. God is the one that made my dam. And it's big enough to hold everything. You know, it only takes 1 cent, one little copper cent is the beginning of a dollar bill. 100 of those makes a dollar bill. If you got 99 of them, you don't have a dollar. Do you know what? I can be just as happy with 99 as I can with 100. And you can too. Be careful. Do not put your thoughts in your life in money or in how big or how little of money you have. Be humble in this world. Do you know the most unhappy people in my lifetime that I've worked for? My 50-something years I've been slinging paint. And I have painted for nobles, I have painted for the most wealthy, and I have painted for the most poor. And I can tell you this, the most happy that I've painted for were the most poor. The most unhappy that I've painted for were the very wealthy. Not that all wealthy people must be unhappy, but the majority are. Because their wealth is where their priorities are, and in their wealth can fleet away in 2 seconds. This crash we had not very long ago, where everybody, as a matter of fact, I remember 76. I remember 76, the big crash in 76. Wow. I saw people kill themselves. They lost bukus of their money, cash money. By the way, I don't care how much money you have, there's somebody out there trying to steal it. And if they can get to it, they will, and they will steal it and leave you busted, broke. You better not put all your marbles in one bag. Not if they're industrial marbles, or not if they're marbles of this world. Do you know that we can trace back to our humble beginning? When our forefathers landed on these shores, and they were happy, happy, happy. Happy campers, they were happy people. They had to work hard to root out trees and get enough soil so they could plant some corn and some garden, so that they could feed their bodies some food that their body was designed to eat. Their Bible was their workbook. Their Bible was their school book. Their Bible brought forth the God that they followed and should still be following today. One of the first things that was established in a colony was a worship house where they came and got together and worshiped God, not the almighty dollar. The dollar worship has come into play today in such a way that people worship it. I have found in speaking to a finance real engineer that tells people what to do with their finances have told me that some of the most wealthy people that they tend their finances and help them are actually people that are in debt. Their investments have exceeded what they really have and what they're really worth, their net worth. And because they've exceeded that, if there comes a downturn in the world, they are instantly broke. They are instantly in destitution. They are some of the first people that are losing their house. The bank's taking their house. What happened? They put all of their marbles in the worldly bag, and the worldly bag is a bad bag. It's broke. It breaks. Do you know that Eve became the handmaiden of all, the mother of all the people on the earth? She became the mother of all the people on the earth. And nature is the handmaid of the earth. And the natural things of the earth that we have out here, we need to respect them as we respect God. And God made these things for a purpose. I'm glad to see that in many towns and cities, they've made a rule that you have to have a certain amount of trees on your property. If you're going to develop it, you've got to have a certain amount of trees. Wow. You say, well, that's ingenious. Yeah, it is. It's a fact that if you don't have the trees, you don't have air. And if you don't have air in a big city, somewhere around the city coming in, you're going to be stifled. So you've got to have air. And God made all of that in the beginning. It was a small little seed in the beginning that became the life support of the human race. Wow. All the beginnings that we have in our life have endings. I would like many of the beginnings in my life not to end until I go to heaven. Some of those beginnings are good. I got married to a woman 51 years ago that I don't want to end until we go to heaven, both of us. I want to do a good job in my spiritual life. I did a good job as a heathen. People used to knock on my door. Christian people from a church would knock on my door, and I was a heathen then. I'd open the door with a can of beer in my hand. I'd say, yeah, who are you? And they'd tell me, and I'd say, look, I guarantee you that I'm a better sinner than you are a Christian. I do what I do, I believe what I do, and I cuss like I cuss, drink like I drink, and do what I do to the fullest. Do you do what you do to the fullest? And you know most Christians couldn't say that they do to the fullest what they do. But now that I am a Christian, and I used to say this, if I become a Christian, I'm going to show you how to live like a Christian, what a Christian is. Man, we're just rambling today for a few minutes talking about living in this world, an everyday life of good, not artificial living, but good living, real living, viable living. And it's not so much what we do as it is what we are. Do you do what you are? I are a Christian. I do as a Christian does. And do you do what you are? If you, I can see people, all kinds of people, they do what they are. They're lost folks, and they do everything they do is derogatory. It's powerless as far as bringing anything to peace or anything to culmination to where it would profit God. You live in, man, do you know that you're living moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, 24 hours in a day? Calculate the minutes. Unretrievable time. 168 hours in a week. My friend, if you are saved, there are 168 hours in a week. That means that you owe God 16.8 hours every week in prime time serving Him. Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. If you properly use those and divide those into 4 hours each, undivided attention, 4 hours Sunday morning, 4 hours Sunday night, 4 hours when undivided attention to God, you can come up with your 16 hours. Then you got a half hour you owe. My friend, do you know or understand or have you ever heard the word tithing? That is 10% of every single solitary thing that you make. 1 dime out of $1 belongs to God, the God of heaven. Have you ever heard that? It's a principle. If you follow it, you will be blessed. I asked somebody the other day, I said, how do you think they pay the preacher? How do you think they pay the light bill? How do you think the things in the church put the carpet in? How do you think we run the things at the church? We do it with tithes. And then there is another thing called offerings. Tithes is 1 dime out of $1. You know, it almost makes you feel like a cheapskate to just give 1 dime when you can give twice as much and have twice as much. You say, how does that work, Brother Peter? I'm here to tell you. Try it. Give twice as much and see if God won't give you twice as much back. He always meets the need and above the need, above it. Our problem is we don't live anymore in needs, we live in wants. We're always wanting something that we don't need. The great Master Jesus has said many things. One of the things he said is best, the best thing, is charity or love. Love thy neighbor as thyself, or even above thyself. To love each other. Do you have God's charm in your life? And Jesus charmed people. Everywhere he went, they followed him, and he charmed them. Just his being there charmed people. Are you building a house that's a forever house? Or are you building a house that is going to end up destroyed and a life that's going to end up in hell forever? We are an house. We are the house of the Lord when we ask Jesus to come into our heart. Otherwise, we are the house of the devil. And if you are the house of the Lord, you need improvements. When do improvements begin? When you say, Jesus, I'm a sinner, forgive me of my sin, come in my heart and save my soul. Then you start improving. What do these improvements require? They require you pick up this Bible and you get in it. And you start reading it. It is the backbone of your spiritual life. Do you know a broken backbone renders you useless? A broken backbone puts you on a bed on your back. You cannot get up. And usually a broken backbone puts you where your legs don't work. So you're a laying there vegetable. You can be used if you are. By the way, if you should have to be watching this, and you are in that situation, God can use you where you are. You can be a light and a delight to those who visit you. If you get in the Word, in spite of the fact that you're incapable of movement, you can get in the Word and be a responsible, godly person. And even though the place you're in a place of necessity that somebody else waits on you, helps you, you can be a cheerful person. You can help those who have to help you. Are you an improvement to this world, or a disprovement to this world, or a discouragement to the world of people around you? Have you conquered evil and got it out of the way so that you can be a peaceful person, be around? We're too blessed in the world that we're in to be ugly. We're too blessed in the world that we're in to be ugly. We need to be peaceable, loving, kind people. Nobody lives to himself, but all people are an influence, either good or bad, on others. So let's shape up. Let's get ourselves in the right place. Let's be a well-oiled machine that doesn't squeak or squawk or squabble or complain. Let's be a well-oiled machine. How do we do that? By oiling our heart and our minds with the Word of God. If you please, they have a saying, I stuck my neck out. Are you sticking your neck out for God? Are you sticking your neck out and saying, Lord, put this yoke on my neck. Put this spiritual yoke on my neck, that I might be triumph, that I might pull this load with joy and long suffering and peace, that I might do the things you want me to, that whether I'm in fire or water, Paul the Apostle said, no matter wherever I am, whatever I'm in, whatever circumstance, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to boast about the God of heaven, and I'm going to live in those wealthy places of peace of mind, in spite of the fact whether I'm in the deep blue sea or if I'm in a place of fire. My life is in its second edition. Is your life in its second edition? My first edition of my life, first 30 years, not a good edition. The second edition of my life, I'm hoping, is going to be proofed out and be the proofs of the life that God wanted me to live and be what it's supposed to be. I've learned by experience that following the devil is the wrong way and following God is the right way. I'm looking out the window at my grass that has grown higher than it should because I've been working somewhere else this week and neglected that grass. Now I've got to get it mowed. And that's something I'm going to do today, get it mowed. Is there tall grass in your life that needs mowing? Is there things in your life that need mowing, need knocked down, need to be taken out of your life? There are things that will creep in if you're not careful. I would hasten to get those things out of my life if I see them in my life. And pray, Lord, help me so I can help others. For what good is it to live in a world that you can't help others and that you can't cheer up others and you can't relieve the need of some others? Humanity today is beaten down. It's beaten down, it's beaten down, it's beaten down. Wow. Hey, just to go to the airport when on a day or on a time when there are many delays and people chewing misery And you can say, just think, had your plane took off this morning at the time it was supposed to, it might have been that one that didn't make it to where it was going. And God has spared you just a little while ago. I couldn't get out of the yard. I had some problems getting out of the yard. And when I did get out of the yard, time I got to the interstate, there was a bad wreck. And God said to me, had you left when you wanted to this morning, the exact time you wanted to, you'd been the one in that wreck. See, God watches over this earth, and every corner of this earth, every nook, every cranny, every person on this earth is in the hands of God. He knows the number of every hair on your head. He knows the steps that you're going to take. He's going to reveal to you the need that you have in your life if you'll listen to Him, if you'll follow Him, if you will ignore human rationality and look at godly rationality and the necessities of following God and not the necessities of following the world. If we will go accordingly to the Bible, we will render kindness even for a bad act. Somebody does something bad to us, we need to render kindness. And they will see God in us. Let's help everyone as neighbor. Let's help everyone. Who is my neighbor? That's anybody that's beside me at any given moment. And so let's render out the sweet fragrance of the righteousness of God and the peace of mind and the happiness. Let's assist. If somebody has a need, let's assist them in that need. Whatever happened to the old Boy Scout thing of helping the old lady across the street? Where'd it go? Where is it now? Let's rekindle that fire. Let's rekindle in our life. Let's do everything that's good even in adversity. Let's do something that's humiliating in a sense. Let's do some self-examination. Let's do some adjusting. Let's adjust for the moment, and then the minute, and then the hour, and then the day. Do you know what? Even though we may be flooded with hardship, God can flood us with peace. Even if we're in the midst of hardship, God can flood our life with peace and joy, long-suffering, temperance, meekness. Sweet are the uses of adversity. What is adversity? That's like taking a 10-pound weight in your hand and going like this. And that adversity builds a muscle. And the adversities of this world build spiritual muscles in you. Wow. We think that adversity is ugly like the venom of a snake, when adversity is not ugly like the venom of a snake. It is a way, a means of strengthening you, and then the precious jewels that come from going through that strengthening that you have, the jewels of this muscle, the jewels of this muscle up here, trying this brain out. This is our life. We're only passing this way one time. There's only one life. Soon to be passed. Only what's done for Christ will last. Well, this is Brother Peter. Been rambling on here in this tidbit from the Word to try to show you that common, everyday living with a spiritual entity to it from the Bible, you can live a happy and peaceful life. See you next time. Bye-bye.